Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dylan with Mad Vehicle Protection in Simi Valley, California. I've been detailing for a little over 5 years now, and this is our shop. We specialize in paint correction, ceramic coating, paint protection film, and advanced detailing. If you're looking for a quick detail, this is not the place. Go somewhere else. There's a car wash right down the street. We specialize in doing things the right way, not the fast way. And this is my video on paint correction. What is it? How do you perform it? What does it do? Do I need it for my car? Can a new car get this? Is it meant for old cars? We are going to be answering all of those questions today. Everything you're going to need to perform a paint correction professionally to your car. Paint correction does not have to do with fixing rock chips in your paint, and it does not have to do with fixing failing clear coat that is peeling off of your car. Most modern paint jobs are going to have 3 layers. They're going to have the primer, they're going to have the base coat, they're going to have the clear coat, and you need to have all 3 layers to perform a paint correction. Paint correction is essentially shaving off a layer of the clear coat to reveal a surface that looks brand new. If you have a scratch or a defect in your paint that went through the clear coat, paint correction's not really going to help you much. You might be able to make it look a little better, but you're not going to fix the real problem, which is it doesn't have clear coat.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
With this knowledge, we can now start to understand why there are different polishers, why there are different pads, why there are different compounds and polishes, and why there are different processes to perform on different types of paint. Because not every vehicle needs a crazy heavy paint correction with this extremely aggressive rotary polisher and extremely aggressive wool pad and sandpaper. You might be able to get away with using a heavy polishing pad to get 100% correction and remove those defects. In paint correction, there is a dichotomy between preserving that paint job while also making sure that it looks flawless. When you lean on the side of making that paint look flawless, you are going to run into some issues. You're going to have a lot less clear coat on the car, and you also run the risk of burning through the paint, which can lead to longevity problems with the paint. It could oxidize, it could start peeling prematurely, and burning through paint is just never a good option. And when you lean too far on the other side, where you want to preserve the paint, then you're just going to have a lot of defects left in your paint. So you need to be somewhere in the middle. And understanding what different polishers do, what different pads do, what polishes to use, all these other things are going to help you stay in the middle of that dichotomy. So the first step is always going to be to assess the paint. Assessing the paint to see what sort of condition it is, to see how deep those defects are, and also talking with the client, or if it's your own car, understanding where you are happy with that paint job being. To give you guys a good example of a scratch that I might recommend to leave in the paint for most clients, this is a great example of one right here. This scratch right here is an example of a scratch that I would recommend to leave in the paint to most clients. With most factory paint jobs, you don't have a ton of paint to work with. So that protective layer, which is your clear coat and the shiny part of your car, is not unlimited. So for something like this that is hard to notice and it's not something you're going to see on a daily basis, I might recommend keeping that in there just because you want to preserve that paint job. Again, writing that fine line between preserving and also perfecting the paint. So the first step to a paint correction is going to be assessing the paint job. Every paint job is different. Some have been through crazy off-roading where they have bush scratches all along the sides, like this one. There are some paint jobs that have very minimal scratches and swirls in the paint, but they might have some really hard water spots. And then there's your average paint job. It has swirls, it has water spots, but it's nothing that a 2-step correction, which is something I will explain in a little bit, can't take care of. So to give you guys a couple different scenarios, let's say we have a brand new car that just came in and we know that it has a factory finish, so we know it has a proper amount of paint, and we're looking at the car and we realize that it has some light swirl marks and maybe some hard water spots on the roof and hood, like most new cars. So with that knowledge, the next step is going to be to perform a test spot on that paint job to see what sort of correction you can get, and not every color corrects the same. There are defects that you can put in with your polisher, and you're going to notice that with different colored paint. So performing that test spot is going to make sure that you understand what process you're going to be doing on this car and really give you a good idea of how much work this paint is going to need. There are lots of different polishes and compounds. There are lots of different pads. There are lots of different polishers. So what do we have here? Here is all of the tools that you're going to need to perform really any paint correction on any car. First up, we'll start over here. We have our polishers. We're going to start on the right side with the heaviest cutting polisher that we have. This is going to be the Rupes rotary polisher. This polisher is much different than this one. This one functions in a way that seriously cuts down clear coat very quickly and very efficiently if it's used correctly. If you're someone at home, do not touch one of these. It's going to burn through your paint. Next up, we have a friendlier polisher. This is called a dual action polisher, and you'll see that they look a little bit different, but they also act much differently. You'll see that this polisher does not spin. It is not a forced rotation, as this would be a forced rotation if this was the machine moving this. And this is going to be a polisher that is a lot more friendly to use. This is what you're going to be using on 90% of cars, unless it has some really crazy defects, or you're just looking for some speed. And if you're looking for a professional result, you definitely do need at least a 3-inch polisher, or even better, a 3-inch that can turn into a 1-inch polisher if we put the right tool. Now we're going to go into our pads. There are lots of different pads. If you are a DIY detailer and you want to perform a paint correction on your car, you're probably only going to need these 3 pads right here. This is going to be a heavy cutting foam pad. This one is by Buff and Shine. This is going to be a HDO polishing pad. This one is by Lake Country. And this is going to be a microfiber cutting pad. This one is by McGuire's. These 3 will get you through a lot of situations. One is going to be your cutting pad. So this is what's going to be your first step after the vehicle is prepped. This is going to knock down most of those defects, definitely remove those swirls, and possibly even remove some heavier defects, deeper scratches, and water etchings. Problem with this is that it's going to leave some defects in the paint, especially on darker colors. These are going to leave what's called microfiber haze in paint. It's going to leave the paint a little bit hazy, and you need to finish it out with one of these 2, possibly even this one if it's a really soft paint job. So whenever you're using a cutting pad, you always have to finish it out with some sort of foam polishing pad. This pad right here is a purple wool heavy cutting pad. This one is by Lake Country as well. I use this one specifically on the rotary polisher if I'm looking to remove sanding, scratches, hard water etchings, deep scratches. This is going to be the combo I'm going to be using. It's a great option, but it is for professionals only. As far as the 3-inch pads go, I use basically the same type of pads with this polisher. They're just smaller, and this polisher definitely acts much differently than any other polisher, so you just have to adapt. And over here, we have all of our polishes and compounds. Knowing how each one of these works on their own and together is a huge advantage. You can seriously cut down the amount of time that you were spending on a car by picking the right polish or the right compound, and you could seriously add some time to your detail if you pick the wrong one. So understanding which one to use when you're going in with that test spot on the paint is huge. Ultra cut is a good option. However, sometimes this is a little bit overkill for like a newer car or a car that doesn't have as heavy of defects. I would say a great overall compound to start with is going to be Classic Cut Plus by Shine Supply. This stuff doesn't leave a ton of haze in the paint, and it also cuts pretty dang nicely. As far as polish goes, I also kind of lean towards Shine Supply as well. Classic polish is a great polish. As far as brands go, I would say they're all great. As long as you're sticking to those higher end brands like Geon, CarPro, Menzerna, and I don't think you can go wrong. It's more of knowing which one to use in which scenario. Up here, we are gonna have our sandpaper and our sanding blocks. This is if we are going in on a really big scratch, or if we're moving a really deep defect on a large panel, or if we're just doing a full color sand to a car, this is going to be a great option. Something I should have mentioned in the beginning is this is going to be a paint depth gauge. If you're a DIY detailer, I would say you could probably steer away from this, but for all detailers out there, but this is going to be a lifesaver when you don't even notice it. This is going to measure the amount of clear coat that's on the car because not every car has the same amount of clear coat. Next up, we have detailing lights because you need to see what you are correcting. So having a light like this on my head all the time to see exactly where I'm polishing and what's going on with that paint is extremely helpful. Having a big detail light like this one is also extremely helpful because this can really show nearly every single defect. Having a light like this is also helpful because it sits in my pocket very nicely and very quick to use. Also your best bang for your buck. Next up, I'm going to bring you over to our pad maintenance because when you're polishing, you are removing clear coat and you are also creating a lot of heat. You are using chemicals like the polishes and compounds. All of that gets combined into this grossness that is your pad after you are done with a pass. This is a good handy option to keep on you at all times when paint correcting. You're going to have gunk on them and you're going to need to clean them off. This is a good option, but it's not the best. The best option is going to be using something like this. This is by the Rag Company. I still call it a Tornador because it's a Tornador. But this is hooked up to the air compressor. It's essentially has a little tool in here that likes to spin around, creates like a tornado effect, and it blows out a pad very efficiently and going to be the quickest, most efficient process for that. Up here, we're going to have the towels and applicator pad. You're definitely going to need some brand new paint towels. I highly recommend some fluffier towels like this one, 450 GSM, which is like the fluffiness of the towel. Over here is going to be the ceramic leveling towel, which I know we're talking about paint correction. We're not talking about ceramic. But if you're going to be doing a heavy paint correction on your car, you're going to want to apply a coating on your car. So you might as well have that. And you also need some quality towels to wipe off your polish and your compound because you don't want to scratch up your paint. You can scratch up your paint with the wrong towel. I promise. I've done tests. And our applicator pad, you definitely need an applicator pad to apply ceramic onto the vehicle. Using a ceramic specific applicator pad is also essential because you could be wasting a lot of ceramic if you do use just like a normal pad. And lastly, we have our ceramic coatings. If you are a DIY detailer, you can't really go wrong. These are all good coatings. However, I do really like this coating when it comes to application. The wipe off process and also just washing with this coating is also amazing all the time. But going back to my point about paint correction and why you should get a ceramic coating, you are investing a ton of time into your car and a ton of money into your car when doing this process. And you want that to last. You don't want it to return back to how it was just 2 months down the road. That is going to help you prevent scratching up the car. It's also going to keep it looking a lot nicer for a lot longer and make that wash process just so much easier. You still can scratch a car with ceramic coating, absolutely, but when it comes to maintaining it, if you have less dirt on your car because the ceramic is not allowing stuff to stick, you're going to have a lot less of a chance of rubbing dirt into your paint, which is what causes scratches. And trust me guys, if you're going to be maintaining your car properly with proper wash techniques, a ceramic coating is just the best way to go when it comes to maintenance. Will I forever be